Monday, April 24th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight we bring you our live panel about podcasting from Tora-Con 2006.
Let's do this.
So we're back and we're tired after a long weekend in Rochester.
Yeah, I'm pretty tired.
Yeah.
Driving, how much total driving did I do? Like 600-something miles?
You drove 640 miles plus the driving around Rochester.
Grumble, grumble.
Yeah, screw you. I once drove, and I say this a lot, but I'm going to say it again for all of our listeners out there. I once drove from Poughkeepsie, which is by New York City, to Lansing, Michigan, and then 2 days later drove from Lansing, Michigan to Wildwood, New Jersey.
It's because you're stupid.
Actually, it was because I finished my co-op and I was with IBM, and I was technically homeless for a month. Not really a month, like 3 weeks, almost a month. And I could have gone back wherever. Instead, I drove out to Michigan to see my family because I hadn't seen him in a while, and my brother was going to college. And I promised him I'd see him, and I couldn't afford to fly. I was poor back then, but I could afford to drive, believe it or not. And then I went to Wildwood and lived there with our friend Scott Johnson at his beach house for the rest of the summer.
Yeah, because you could afford to drive after, the repoed car.
Yeah, well, see, the repoed car was way when I didn't have money.
Maybe you would have had money if you didn't spend it driving around like an idiot.
Now the driving was real cheap. It was a lot cheaper than flying, and I really couldn't not visit my family. I hadn't seen them in a while.
Yeah, well, if the gas price is what it is now, you'd be in big trouble.
You know what? The gas prices weren't what they are right now. In fact, they were quite low.
Yeah, now it's what I think it's. I paid $3.12 today at the good gas station.
Yeah, now it probably would have been cheaper to fly if my life as it occurred many years ago occurred in this today.
Who would have thought that jet fuel would be cheaper than car fuel?
Yeah, I think it's that the airline industry isn't doing so well on its own.
Yeah, the JetBlue prices actually are going up, not down, but...
Yeah, but I got a real cheap flight out to Animazement, which I'm actually looking forward to quite a bit.
When is that?
Oh, beginning of May, middle of May sometime, maybe end of May, I don't remember. I got a plane ticket, so I'm going. I got to check and make sure, and then...
We should go looking around. Maybe there's like another convention we can go to that we're missing. Maybe like a gaming one or something in the nearby area.
Well, we could hit Kineticon, which I hear is really fun.
Isn't that in the, July or something?
I don't know. It's not in my con repertoire.
Yeah, I've been within a hair's distance of it. I think I was at the school with the summer camp the day of the con at one point, and I saw an Inuyasha cosplayer running around in the field, but I didn't go to the con at all. I just went home.
Yep. I mean, I go to a lot more cons than you, but that's because I started early. I got hooked.
Yeah, I just, I won't go very far or put a lot of effort into a con.
Unless it's Otakon.
Unless I know.
Yeah. You should probably come to Katsucon next year. It's really good.
Maybe.
But I digress, because today's Monday and Tech Day and not Anime Day.
Hooray.
But since our live show that we did at Tora-Con was about podcasting and not about not podcasting or anime so much, it fits, tech, podcasting, yeah.
Maybe we should have done a show about anime podcasts instead of, I don't know. Oh, well.
Yeah, our audience seemed to like what we did.
Yeah. Okay. So, news is...
Yeah, in the news, New York State had a bit recently, and a lot of people have probably seen the headline that you can't be fired for surfing the internet while you're at work.
Was this the guy who got fired by Bloomberg for playing solitaire?
I don't know if it was
a different guy.
I don't know if it was him directly, but he is somewhat related to this, that this issue came out partly because of him. And basically, the judge ruled in this suit that he was wrongfully fired, whoever the guy was, because surfing the internet and doing computer things is, in this day and age, no different from making a personal call while you're at work, or reading the newspaper, or hanging around the water cooler.
But I thought that New York is one of those states where they can fire you for any reason they want.
Oh yeah, they can, except that one, a company still... if they can either give no reason at all or they can give a stated reason. Usually there's a company policy and they'll say we fired you because you broke corporate instruction 916, don't masturbate to pornography in your office.
Lol. But they can't fire you for discriminatory reasons, like you're too old or you're black, yep, or we don't like you because you're
Christian. Here's a nice bit of trivia. There is a list of protected classes and you cannot discriminate based on those classes. However, you can discriminate all you want openly to anyone that is not in one of those classes for any reason that has nothing to do with those classes.
Really?
I don't remember them all, but you cannot discriminate based on age, gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, but not in all states. It's kind of stupid because some people are really backward and prejudiced, but I digress.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is perfectly okay to discriminate based on obesity,
Yay.
body odor,
Yay.
certain types of appearance. It's complicated with appearance because you could discriminate against a guy who has, say, a tattoo of a spider across his face. But maybe not so much if he claimed that was part of his religion, and it gets all complicated at that point.
Yeah, this tattoo of a spider on my face is part of my religion. Yeah.
But
All
yeah,
right.
I mean, basically a company, if they're going to fire you, they're going to fire you.
I think that a company should be allowed to fire, pretty much whoever they want for almost whatever they want.
Yep, and it really is that way in New York.
Yeah.
Some states it isn't, but there aren't many non-right-to-work states left in this country. The United States, not. We have a lot of foreign listeners, so I really got to not be so U.S.
Yeah, I'd like to know what it's like in other countries. Can people just fire anyone they want, or is it, there are laws about that?
We know how it is in France.
Aha.
I mean, I love France. Some would consider me a Francophile, but goddamn, that's not the thing to protest about. That's
I mean, if I could see the U.S. rioting, like, they're firing us for browsing the web and listening to the podcast. Let's riot. Woo!
No, we riot when football team loses.
For
all
they riot when the soccer team loses.
No,
it's
they
the same
riot.
thing.
They riot when their football team loses because they play real football.
Well, they just call soccer football, and we call football football.
Okay. Anyway,
Football.
I just think the news here is that here's a judge who recognizes that the internet is not special. It's basically become as important and relevant to our lives as the telephone is. It's something it's rare to see a judge who's on top of things.
Let's find the name of that judge and try to. Maybe he's a voted judge. We might have to vote for him.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd be in a district where we could vote for him or not.
Well, he might be a state judge or something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
But either way, he should become a one level up judge. Give him a little green and white mushroom.
Do.
Yep.
Yeah, wait till my thing of the day tomorrow.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
All right, so what's your news?
Oh, so there's big news about this convention in Vegas right now, or recently, for the National Association of Broadcasters. Those are like, the people who deal with radio and TV broadcasting and that shit. And apparently a bunch of nerds went there, and they came back with some stories. And the biggest story, apparently, is this camera called the Big Red One, or the Big Red Camera, or whatever.
Is it red?
No, but on the front of it, it looks really wicked cool. Like, wow. All future-y and shit. Like, there's a bunch of holes to mount stuff on it, and it's really, really professional. Like, this is not something we will ever buy.
Yeah, granted, we are not camera experts by any stretch.
This is something for, like, movie crews and film studios and TV shows. And
all right, read us off the impressive part, the specs.
Okay, well, first of all, the only thing red about it is that it has this red light on the front that kind of makes it look like Hal. So I just want to get that across. So
I'm sorry, Dave. I will not allow you to film yourself. I was going to make a joke about masturbation.
Yeah, that's the DRM, is that this HAL is in there. And if you try to videotape, because this is a better quality than your TV, so if you try to film your TV to copy the video, HAL's like, I will not allow you to violate the DMCA, Dave.
That's not actually true.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
If it was, that'd be great. Just for the hilarity. Anyway.
Yeah, anyway.
So there's a company called Red Digital Cinema, and the founder is the same guy who founded Oakley, the sunglasses company. So that's part of, I think, why the camera looks so cool, is because, Oakley sunglasses look cool. Did I ever tell everyone my law of sunglasses?
You might have, but it might not be a recent episode, so go nuts.
Oh, so the law, this is a little non sequitur, little, tangent. You can go to the, I don't know, the free bins that the Lions have for sunglasses and get sunglasses for free. You can go to a flea market and get like $2 sunglasses. You can go to a rest stop and get $10 sunglasses. Or you can go to the sporting goods store and get Oakleys for like $200. Or you can go to Sunglass Hut and get Ray-Bans for like $500, right? Theoretically,
the sunglasses I have cannot be gotten for any price.
Theoretically, yes.
Yeah, I told that story, so.
Yeah, but the reason that sunglasses cost more money isn't because, a sunglass that costs $100 is any better than the $10 sunglass. No. The rule is that the more a sunglass costs, the greater a percentage of the population will look good in them. For example, the $5 sunglasses from the flea market only look good on a very specific type of old lady. The $10 sunglasses from the rest stop only look good on people like me, and maybe people like, average-looking guys. The $100 Oakleys look good on just about anyone who doesn't weigh more than 200 pounds. And the $500 Ray-Bans look good on anyone with a human face. That's the reason more expensive sunglasses are more expensive, because they look good on anyone.
Yep. Though don't forget that there is a line below which sunglasses are not only cheap but dangerous. If you get like cheapo sunglasses, they're probably non-polarized. And they're probably not really protecting your eyes from UV rays.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the price to look good ratio. We're not talking about the quality of the lens and its sun protection or any of that shit.
All right, you ever hear of a sunglass called blue blockers?
No.
All right, I have a story about blue blockers that I'll save for another day.
Okay, so that's the law of sunglasses, because the guy who founded Oakley founded this camera company. Let's get to the camera. The camera is an HD digital camera of video. It can record 11.4 megapixel. Now, I have it's not even 10, it's like a 5 or 6.
Yeah, the camera in my phone is a 1.4 megapixel.
Yeah, so my digital camera, you can go to my Flickr, actually, there's Tora-Con photos there.
Not many.
Not many, though, because I suck. And I don't use my camera enough that I spend so much money on, because I don't want to be like a photo guy. Anyway. And you can see it's a pretty damn good camera, like really high resolution pictures. This is 11.4 megapixels. Holy shit. And it can take 11.4 megapixel pictures a second.
God
60
damn.
FPS. Like 60 FPS is holy shit. Considering TV is like 32. And
well, movies are 24.
Movies are like nothing. So that's like holy crap pictures of digital.
Now, I think the really amazing thing here is the cost compared to those specs.
Yeah, okay, so you have this amazing camera that takes like the most beautiful HD imagery ever. It also comes with the amazing sensor that lets this happen, and storage to store all that crazy video and all this shit. Now, normally, according to, I don't know this because I'm not a camera guy, but according to these professional camera guys who went there, something like this, they expect it to cost, $250,000, $200,000, something in the house range. You
can get a house for $200,000? Goddamn.
Yeah, why not?
Where?
All over the place.
The cheapest house anywhere near us is at least $500,000.
That's a really fancy house.
No.
That's like a 4-bedroom or 5-bedroom house.
You realize that there's a housing development right near us that has crapo like subdivision houses, the same houses you see in any subdivision suburb anywhere. $600,000-$700,000.
Well, that's just nuts.
Yeah, there's no cheap houses here. I would kill if this house cost $200,000 right now that we're living in. I'd buy it in a second.
There are $200,000 houses.
Yeah, not here.
Anyway,
not where we live.
That's not the point. The point is that $200,000 is like a house price. This camera costs car price. We're talking $17,500.
Yeah, like definitely not low budget, but definitely not high budget, like by any means.
In other words, if you were setting up to make a movie, a digital movie, and you weren't going to use film, you just buy a whole shit ton of these instead of buying one of the normal cameras.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to make, I don't know, a really professional video podcast, just scoop one of these babies up. Nice, easy.
Independent houses, art houses, little film houses.
Yeah, you're going to see independent movies looking a lot better if this thing isn't fake.
Now, I'll point out that there is one big problem with that, is that when you have a camera that high quality and you're recording at that high quality, all the other factors become a lot more important. Now the makeup has to be a lot better. The lighting has to be a lot better. The acting and the framing have to be a lot better.
But at the same time, couldn't you? No, I'm not an expert, so
I know what you're gonna say because I was just thinking that as I was saying.
Since your image is so perfect,
blur it back down.
Couldn't you just bring it back down?
Yeah, I figure you could.
Just compress it back down, and then all the mistakes go away. But then you have a really high quality source material to work with.
Yep, because I know that's how we do it with audio.
Yeah. Now, I think this thing's like a 30mm lens, but you can buy a 300mm lens for $5,000.
Now, of course, there's a tiny chance that this is semi-vaporware.
Yeah, apparently, like, it was locked in a cage and shit, so no one would mess around with it. But the pictures of it look wicked awesome, and if it's real, expect awesome things to start showing up in independent movie theaters and TV shows and all sorts of stuff. Expect a lot more HD TV.
Things of the day. Now, many of the people who know us realize that we're not particularly into that whole alcohol thing.
No, alcohol, not so good. Like,
I mean,
it's poison.
Very few of us drink at all, and even the ones who drink, I mean, I enjoy wine a lot and things like that, but our group of friends really doesn't get into that whole standing there holding a red Solo cup, woo, culture.
Yeah, and anything, more or somewhat less or sideways from alcohol, no one does. I mean, I don't think anyone smokes weed or smokes or anything.
Yeah, no one we're really friends with currently does any drugs. A few people did in the past and have interesting stories as a result, but...
Drugs are bad, okay?
Well, the thing is, I mean, I enjoy alcohol. I really like wine and sake and that sort of thing. Now, I really don't like dealing with people who are drunk.
I don't like being drunk. Of course, I've never been drunk because I don't drink, but
Yeah.
I know I don't like it.
I've been drunk, and there's a level of drunkenness that is fun, and it is not very much drunkenness, because beyond that, it is not fun.
Yeah, vomiting, no good.
Yeah.
I mean, you vomited. Everyone's vomited.
Yep.
It's not nice or
So
pleasant to
why,
vomit.
If you vomited by accident or because you ate something bad.
Or because you were sick with, like, the flu.
Yeah. Now, don't do it on purpose. And more importantly, don't do to yourself what the guy in the video that is my thing of the day did. You don't want to be this guy. I mean...
I'm never going to be that guy.
I mean, goddamn. It's funny because this guy's drunk. And he can't stand up. And some kid has, like, a handy cam, and he's just filming it. And the guy just can't stand up. He's so drunk.
Yeah, I guess not being able to stand up is a little better than vomiting.
I imagine whoever he is already vomited copiously.
Perhaps. But perhaps he is such an old, disgruntled, drunken hobo that he doesn't vomit anymore.
Haha. It just kind of oozes out of him and turns into those clothes hobos wear.
Exactly.
Well, not hobos, winos. Some hobos are cool.
I think hobos technically are the people who do work. So I don't think he was a hobo. I think he's a bum.
I think he was just like, you know what? He's probably a former college frat guy.
And he ended up homeless? How did he go from college to homeless?
Alcohol.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, definitely we're not prohibitionists. We're not against alcohol.
Freedom.
Yeah, freedom.
Freedom.
But, yeah, if you're like this guy, I'm not going to help you off the street.
Nor will I respect you.
Yeah, yeah.
Or possibly even talk to you. Or recognize your existence as a worthwhile living organism.
Yeah.
The bacteria on my foot might get more respect. Perhaps.
Hey, bacteria are dangerous little bastards.
They are. And they
People tell you
don't
that.
get drunk. They're smart.
Yep.
Not getting drunk. All right. So I'm sure everyone has played the types of video games, where you walk sideways and you beat things up.
Final Fight, River City Ransom, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
And 3 and Streets of Rage.
Simpsons.
Yeah, all those, the beat 'em up.
The 8-man X-Men game.
Oh, the 8-man X-Men game. Or wasn't it 6? It was 4 for the little one and 6 for the big one.
Yeah, it was just the one with 2 screens.
That's right.
And a bunch of nerds with a pile of quarters.
I think there was also for the cheap arcades had the 4-person version where you had to crowd around one TV.
Yeah.
That one wasn't so good. Anyway, some guy made an animation. It appears to be that he made it with Flash, but it's an MPEG if you download it. And he created what is this, an animated short, which is just like one of those games.
Only it's not a game.
It's not really a game.
All right, tell him the title.
Oh my God, it's Pirate Babies Cabana Battle Street Fight 2006.
That is probably the best title.
Or is it Super
ever.
Cabana Battle Street Fight 2006?
All I gotta say is Pirate Baby is an awesome villain.
Yeah, I was told the name of this, And then I said, this better live up to the name.
Yes, 2 of our listeners sent me links to this last night, but since I was dead from Tora-Con, I hadn't even looked at them yet. And then Scott showed this to me, and then I realized that that's what you'd link me to.
Yeah, everyone had seen this already probably while we were away for the weekend. But
yeah.
I would have probably seen it yesterday if I was home. But, we wouldn't do a show till Monday anyway. And even if everyone's seen it, this is just so good that even if one person out there has not seen this yet, they got to go.
Yeah, because there are some videos we have that are from the internet that if all of our friends, 20 of us, 30 of us, are sitting around in our living room and one person says, what? Badger mushroom what now? I never seen that. or NASA? What the hell is NASA?
It is cold.
we suddenly jump to the TV, turn on the computer, and watch it.
Yep. You don't know what Radiskull is? Oh, my God.
All right. As an aside, if any of you out there don't know who Radiskull is.
Radiskull.
As in, I am the Radiskull, and I will kill you one by one.
Just for fun. Yeah, so this video, way cool. If you like walk sideways beat 'em up games, there's a lot of things in here that are total cliches, like the video screen in the back with the repeating image of the villain, and the way the bosses work, and the weapons and the special. There's the thing that keeps you going, because it would get kind of boring, but they keep doing different special attacks that are all humorous in some way. And the graphics are really authentic, if monochrome.
It is definitely an homage.
Super homage. I mean, you'll even notice stuff in there like the Mega Man octopus and such. And the Christopher Walken.
Oh, Christopher Walken, my hero.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen this, go watch it. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of cowbell in this game.
Too much cowbell, in fact.
So moving on to the main bit, we're actually going to play, since we realized that we went to Tora-Con over the weekend, as we've said many times. And no, I didn't just realize that I went to Tora-Con. I realized that the show we recorded live in front of a real audience at Tora-Con had nothing to do with anime, and we basically just talked about podcasting.
Yeah, so why would we play it on Thursday when we have plenty of things to talk about on Wednesday?
As
opposed to Monday when we don't have ideas.
Awesome. So I suppose without further ado, here it is, our live show from Tora-Con, entirely unedited.
Oh my God.
So, I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights.
Let's do this.
All right. I'd like to say that this is our first stop on the first ever Geeknights tour of nowhere. Well, actually, we're going to a lot of conventions.
We're going to Otakon.
Yeah, we've been invited to Otakon as panelists. Animazement, we're doing a show. Well, I'm doing a show. Katsucon found out that we were there last year. We are now guests of Katsucon next year, and we're going to be running part of the video game room, possibly.
Yep, so...
At the very least, we got a show going there.
Yeah, and all the other conventions that we may or may not go to as we desire.
Yeah. But anyway, we do a podcast. Now, do any of you listen to podcasts? Any idea what a podcast is? Ever heard the word podcast? Yes. All right. A podcast is basically just internet radio, which has been around for a long time, only done well. It actually works, and a lot of people are starting to use it.
Yeah, in the olden days, if you wanted to listen to radio on the internet, it was pretty much streaming. You had to go at the time they were talking and push a button, and who knows if it would work or not.
Yeah,
who knows?
You had to use real media.
And the quality was low, and you couldn't hear anything. And sometimes it wouldn't even work. It was just terrible.
Yeah, and it really didn't take off at all.
Nope.
So Apple, in their infinite wisdom, decided to push this thing called podcasting, which when I heard about it, I thought it sounded stupid because I didn't really understand it.
Yeah, it was actually not invented by Apple. It was the actual technology behind it was made by some other people a little earlier, but no one cares.
Yeah, it has very little to do. You don't need an iPod. You don't need iTunes. You don't even need to like Apple.
You just need a computer.
All it is syndicated audio or even video. Basically, you subscribe to a feed, which we could talk on length about that, and then anytime whatever the feed is updates, you get the MP3 file or whatever file it is automatically downloaded to whatever computer or MP3 player you have. So Geeknights, we are 4 nights a week, so every weeknight, a new Geeknights episode appears around midnight, 1, depending on when we finish.
Yeah, so it's really just MP3s that you download, that someone makes.
That's not
all
complicated.
It is. Yes, with a fancy name, with the word pod in it, and to make it harder to get people to listen, because they think, oh, I need an iPod. No, you don't need an iPod. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, some of the big podcasts have, 50, 60,000 listeners.
I think there's some company, they said their goal is to get like 500 million total podcast listeners in the world. I don't know how close they are to getting that, but there's a whole lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I'd really say that, I mean, you all know the webcomic boom, how Mega Tokyo got popular and exploded, and then webcomics exploded. Podcasts are probably about a year or two right before where Mega Tokyo and all that was, before webcomics exploded. So it's kind of a niche market, and it's going to explode one day.
Yeah, it's like when it first came about, some people got into it, and then iTunes actually implemented podcast support, so then it exploded some more, and now it's kind of gradually growing as, like, real companies make podcasts. Like, Penny Arcade just came out with one that, like, jumped to number 12. That beats out, like, ESPN and stuff.
Penn Jillette of Penn and Teller has a podcast that's fairly awesome.
Yeah, well, he does like a real radio show 1 hour every day, every weekday. So he got his radio company to start putting those on the internet, and he took the ads out, which makes it a lot more pleasant to listen to.
Yep. Now, I mean, it's basically like radio. Usually it's talk radio. A lot of people do techno or music. There's actually a lot of good music out there. Like normal radio, they'll play techno from South Africa or something cool like that.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite podcasts is, I think it's Derek the Bandit Sound Republic. All it is electronic music from South Africa.
Yeah.
This guy's in Johannesburg, South Africa, taking his techno music and other people's techno music, and like every once in a while he makes one big MP3 of it, and you get it automatically, and then you listen in the car, and it's great.
And, I mean, a lot of the content is Creative Commons or free, or there's no copyright involved, so you can just play it, share it, whatever, and the artists really don't care.
Yeah, you get in big trouble if you put, like, real music. Like, if I went and got, like, the Beatles music and put it in my podcast and they found out,
We'd get sued.
Sued. So what you do is there's all these musical artists who are, independent. Maybe they're really local to one area. And to get, their music out there in the world is they say, hey, everyone, if you want to podcast my music, go for it. And it's called PodSafe Music. And that's what most people use because then you won't get sued and you help out some independent artist somewhere.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't play music. I don't listen to any of the music podcasts. We just do a talk show. Geeknights, a late-night talk show for geeks. Think like The Late Show or Late Night with whoever, only with us.
And not so often is there a guest.
Yeah, every now and then we get guests. We really haven't had any big guests yet, though we've had some big names agree to future interviews.
Yeah, it's the technology really behind interviews is a little tricky sometimes.
Yeah, we can answer anything like that in questions, because I don't know how much you care about the technical details of trying to interview someone far off and away. Though our best guest so far was, how many of you know Mike Pfeffer? All right, how many of you know Jewish Wolfwood?
Jewish Wolfwood is Mike Pfeffer.
He doesn't like to be known as Jewish Wolfwood. He asked us specifically not to refer to him as Jewish Wolfwood.
We referred to him as Jewish Wolfwood only once in the recorded part of the show.
Yep. But anyway, we decided to do this partly because we went to RIT. We both graduated. I ran this anime club for 3 years. I founded the cosplay that happened right this time, the year before Tora-Con was founded, the next year by the president after me. So we've been around a while. We both graduated. All our friends graduated. And we always talked about doing a radio show.
Well,
all our friends talked about us.
Our original idea was a little different.
Yeah, but it was basically we would sit around and talk, and people who didn't know us would laugh a lot at the things we said.
I'm looking at some people out there.
Yeah. Like, they were just... it was hysterical to them. We couldn't figure out why, and people always said, you should just record yourselves and do a radio show. And
so one day, when I got my little Nano, I, actually used iTunes because the stupid work laptop with Windows. Yeah, we don't use Windows, but, I discovered, oh, look, I'll actually try this podcasting thing. And I was like, you know what? It's real easy to make one of these damn podcasts. Let's freaking do it.
Yep. And
stop being shit talkers.
I love audio and all that stuff, so I immediately went out and bought a bunch of professional equipment. And
it's not that professional.
It's as professional as we're ever going to get unless we get syndicated by someone with money.
It's as professional as pretty much anyone needs, Yeah, so if you want to make a podcast, which you might or might not want to do, depending, all you really need, like minimum, is a microphone and a computer. An Apple computer, it makes it a lot easier if you don't know about technology.
Because then you can use GarageBand.
And
literally just
iTunes
record, hit a button, your podcast appears in iTunes.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything.
It's dead stupid if you have an Apple computer. If you don't have an Apple computer, it's a little bit trickier, but whatever.
But there are a lot of podcasts out there that are just like one dude ranting about Linux. Or one dude, there's a podcast for everything. What was the weird one we found? It was the South African housing market.
No, that was the Australian. There's an Australian real estate podcast.
Yeah.
There's a very popular podcast only about knitting, like knitting.
Yeah.
And it's old ladies talking about knitting and knitting techniques and all this sort. There are freaking radio shows about everything. There's one where it's just independent music from Scotland.
Yeah.
It's very, very popular.
The one that'll make
actually.
you feel really rich. It's this guy, and he summarizes the New York Times for you every day.
Well, it's actually that's actually
So it's
made by the New York Times. It's an official New York Times podcast, and the guy summarizes the front page of every section.
You can pretend you've got like a little butler sitting there just reading it to you while you're having your morning coffee.
The Onion Radio News is also pretty good. This guy comes on with like a 2-minute podcast every day, just reading like the headline of an Onion story in a quick summary, and it's much funnier than reading the actual Onion.
Yes, the Onion, I guess, has degraded over the years.
Yeah.
Now there are also video casts, which are the same, just with video, except it's a lot harder to do video for reasons that a lot of our IT students probably know very well.
Yeah, some of the popular video podcasts are like
Ask a Ninja.
Ask a Ninja.
Ask a Ninja.
Ask a Ninja's hilarious.
If any of you have never heard of Ask a Ninja, I recommend checking them out.
AskAninja.com.
It's a dude dressed up like a ninja answering questions.
That's it.
Like, ask a ninja, how do you kill someone? Well,
How fast do you want me to kill them, and how painfully? You know, I look forward to killing you soon.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, the Homestar Runner actually converted to like video podcast format now, so you can just subscribe to Strong Bad's email. And whenever there's a new Strong Bad email, just it shows up and you watch it. You don't have to do anything.
Yep.
You don't have to visit Homestar Runner every damn day.
now we'd like to talk a lot about the show we do now. I mean, we're recording this now, and we're going to put it on the air next Wednesday on Anime Day.
Wednesday
Yeah.
night. So it's
Yeah,
really
Wednesday night.
Thursday for normal people, unless you sit up all night and wait, and then at like around midnight, 1 a.m., just boop, there it is.
Because that was the big idea we had, is every podcast updates like Monday morning, and it's usually once a week. So we update at night, and it's a late show, but those shows are recorded like Sunday at 11 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually record at night, mostly because we have jobs and we're lazy.
Yeah. So while our show, we say Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, it's really Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, Friday morning.
Though some of our fans, I sit there and I'm doing post-production late at night, and suddenly, right around midnight one, I start getting messages, hey, the show's not up yet. Something wrong? Hey, where's my show?
Yeah. Yeah. But actually, we're pretty consistent. We've missed, one show or something because I was out of town?
We missed one other show because I screwed up and deleted it after we recorded it.
That's right, you freaking...
Yeah. Yeah, well, we did another show, but actually, that's the worst
Well,
thing in the world.
we lost half the show, and what we did is we put the half the show we still had up on the internet, and then we put a sorry Rim deleted it thing as the other half.
Because honestly, I mean, we just talk and talk and talk, but imagine if you had to do something, like to give a speech on the fly, and then you had to give it again. You really don't have the energy to say the same things. Like, if I crack a joke, I can't crack the same joke again. And if I try, it just sounds stupid. So
Yeah.
if we lose an episode, we're just done. We cry and go to sleep.
You see, our podcast really isn't scripted or written like beforehand, so we can't just read it again. It's, we just bring up whatever topic it is, and then we just talk. And then if we've already had the discussion, how can we have the same discussion again and have it be so genuine? It would just be us going, yeah, yep.
So,
That's it.
So we actually force ourselves to not talk about things we're going to talk about on the show. Like if there's news about, I don't know, Microsoft CEO kills someone and a baby ninja, I don't know, something crazy, we acknowledge that the news exists, but we won't talk about it till we turn the mics on at night.
Usually what we talk about before is we'll be like, all right, do we want to do this one or that one? Because it's really hard to pick 2 news stories a day, because some days there's like 20 news stories, and it's like, oh my God, which 2 are the best? And some days it's like, all right, all this news is boring as hell.
Yep, and if we miss a news that other people thought was important, people bother us about it until we talk about it.
Yeah.
Like to no end. Now, we really could talk a lot about how we do the show and the show itself, but first, before we get into that, you guys have any questions about podcasting, podcasts?
Everyone has questions?
You can come up here and get on the air with us if you like, or you can just ask your question and we'll do our thing. Well,
Either
it's all
one.
up to you. We had a mic right here. We're on ball. We're on the ball.
I was wondering how long between when you record your podcast and when it goes up on the internet.
All right.
Okay, for us, it's different than most people.
Yeah,
we pretty much record it, and then Rim starts editing it, and then he puts it on the internet that night.
Yep. Now,
But-
most podcasts, they'll record over the course of like 4 hours, and they'll do like a show once a week or once a month. And then they'll spend hours and hours editing and cutting down until they make like this thing that they can put up.
Mm-hmm.
We really don't edit. What you hear is exactly what we said, cutting out like when Scott burps.
Yeah, we cut out burps, coughs, yeah, those are big long pauses, anything like that we cut out, but we don't cut out anything we say that's English words.
Now, it used to, when we first started, it took me about 2 hours to do the post-production. I mean, I had to run all these filters, dynamic range compression, and normalization, which, if anyone wants to know, I can go into excruciating, painful detail about.
And then we bought this machine.
Yes. Then we bought this machine here, which took all that out of the equation. So now that I've gotten good at editing, it takes about 20 minutes total, and that includes the time it takes to encode it to MP3 on my slow-ass computer that I bought 6.5 years ago.
Yeah, right now the major things that take a lot of time are his slow-ass computer and uploading the file and then waiting for the stupid hosting company to get the file and get it properly set up and then typing up the notes for the show so that you, that's the hard part.
Which isn't hard normally, just we do 4 shows a week, which is kind of crazy. Like, we have more episodes than freaking any other podcast out there, with a few exceptions.
Yeah, there are podcasts that are, like, way older than us. How long have we been going? Since
October of 2005.
October 2005, 4 nights a week. So
we've got 97 episodes up, plus the 11 beta episodes that none of you will ever hear.
Yeah, you're never going to hear those. But their podcast has been going since, like, 2004, which is when it really started. But they have, like, 100 episodes, maybe even less. There's some that have, like, 20 episodes. They do one a month or something like that. We're coming up on 100.
Yeah.
What number is this one?
This is going to be 90. Well, this is going to be 101, because it'll be later. But
oh, all right.
Any questions? Anyone? You want to come up? You want to... So we've got Kate here who's walking up toward the stage. I don't want to have dead air because that means I have to cut it out later. I really hate having to edit, so I try to avoid it at all costs. Yes, it's on. Just talk, unless she turned it off.
Is there any subject that's completely off limits?
Considering the episode we did last Thursday,
Here's the thing about
shame, and nothing is out of bounds.
Well, at least for us. You see, the thing about podcasting is there's no rating system, there's no nothing like that. But on iTunes specifically, there's this explicit tag, and you can't really. It sucks because you can't put an explicit tag on just one episode. Your podcast is either explicit, which means it's really dirty, and you talk about sex and drugs and violence and God knows what.
There are a lot of podcasts
Nazis.
like that.
There are quite a few.
Nazis.
There's a Nazi podcast out there.
Wait, Nazi is a neo-Nazi?
No, as in it's a yelling white supremacist guy.
Oh. All right.
And everyone demanded he be taken off a bunch of lists. It's a crazy story. Anyway, there are other podcasts which are just nothing. They're plain, which means they might say shit, they might say whatever, but
I'd say we're rated between PG-13 and R.
Yeah, for our show,
except for last
at least.
Thursday.
Yeah. But other shows, are just mostly normal. Now, if your show is guaranteed you're never going to curse, you're going to bleep out all the bad stuff, you're going to cut out anything little kids shouldn't hear, you can put a clean tag on it. And that
we can't put the clean tag.
We can't put the clean tag, but we don't put the explicit tag either.
It's like a magic word.
Yeah. You see, it's not... If you put on a real radio show, the FCC can come down on you like a ton of bricks if you say, fuck.
Oh.
But if you just put an MP3 somewhere for people to download, what are they going to do to you?
Yeah.
You can say whatever the hell you want.
Now, I mean, it is Geeknights. We're geeks. We talk about geekery. So we basically broke it up into 4 days of the week. And the scary thing is that each one of our days is pretty much a full-on podcast by itself. Our Mondays we do science, technology, Linux, all that sort of stuff. Tuesdays are gaming, video gaming, board games, all that. Wednesdays are anime and manga and comics. And despite the fact that it's just one day of the week for us, it's pretty much the biggest anime podcast out there.
Well, it's not really the biggest one out there.
We shuffle between number 1, number 2, and number 3 on Yahoo Podcasts for anime.
Yeah, Yahoo Podcasts, which is a little sketchy. But
another good one, I'll recommend him right now and give him a shout-out. Anime World Order is really good.
Anime World Order, these people, they're older school fans than we are, and they're a little fanboy and fangirlish.
They know their stuff.
But at the same time, they know everything. We did an episode about Lupin, and we pretty much got everything wrong except Zenigata. So the guy sends me this giant email telling me excruciating details about every other character and all this stuff that we missed, and I was like, okay, you guys know everything about anime there is to know.
Now, Thursdays, we couldn't come up with anything, so we decided it's special topics, which means whatever the hell we want to talk about. Usually we rant about things. Sometimes we do interesting things like last Thursday.
Yeah, some of our most popular Thursdays were Toys of Our Youth.
Yeah, that episode's been linked to more than, other than with one exception, it's our most linked to episode.
Yeah, TV shows of our youth.
Yeah, we talk about Thundercats once.
How not to suck at college. That's one of our things, how not to suck.
Yeah.
Or how to not suck. Whatever.
Yeah, get it right, Grammar. Captain Grammar.
Captain Grammar.
Mr. Period will be all over you.
Maybe he will.
All right, looks like someone in the audience is excited to ask a question, so I guess he can come up and grab a mic. Unless he's not willing to step up to the challenge.
I don't even think he was planning on asking a question, but we got him.
Ram, I've always had this question for you.
Uh-oh.
How do you get that perfect European hair of yours to stay ever so beautiful?
Well, one, herbal essences, conditioner. Two, I condition twice.
Don't you do something else with the conditioner?
I'm a Fructis man myself.
I would refer to you to previous Thursday's episode if you want to know more about that topic.
How many times are we going to beat around this bush?
That's
Wait, are you
that's a
looking for
rather
bush beaters?
that's a rather loaded statement.
I'm so
I think we'll leave it at that.
Actually, we put a pseudo-explicit tag on that one episode so we wouldn't get in trouble. Plus, we had disclaimers like every 5 minutes in the beginning.
Yeah, it's another thing that you got to watch out with some anime podcasts because they won't tell you when they're going to spoil something.
Yeah.
We have our thing called the spoiler line. Like if we talk about a show, we'll talk about it, and then when we're going to start spoiling it, we say this is the spoiler line. Stop listening now if you haven't watched the show.
Yeah, we'll say it like 10 times, and then we're like, yeah, everybody dies at the end of something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as soon as you're over that line, it's all your fault. Who cares?
Any more questions about podcasting? Any? Oh, I think we've tapped the well here.
Well, didn't have so much water in it.
No, not really. Can't stop beating this dead horse. Oh, come on up. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Got to keep filling the dead air.
I have another question about.
Hold the mic closer to your face.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I'm like kissing the mic here.
Yep.
How much does it cost to get listed on iTunes?
Nothing.
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 All you have to do is submit it, have at least 5 episodes, and not be terrible. Usually someone looks at it. If your podcast is terrible, or your feed is broken, or something isn't working, iTunes will email you and say, man, you suck. Go away.
Yeah, and iTunes is some people complain about them because they do sort of sketchy stuff. They'll be like, they unlisted my feed.
Yeah, if they
get those
unlist you,
bastards at
you're
Apple. I
really
hate them so
bad.
much. But other times it's like, okay, your podcast is like, bleep, bleep, bleep in the title, and you didn't put an explicit tag on it. Apple sends them an email. You better put an explicit tag on it, or we're not going to list you,
What's so bad about bleep, bleep, bleep? Unless you're a robot.
There's a Dirty Robot podcast, actually. It would only
Really?
made 2 episodes, and then it went away.
That's
I don't
actually
know. I just made it up.
There's a big issue. They call it pod fading.
Yeah.
I hate the fact that people come up with these silly. We've got someone else in the back who's excited, which means she is now on the spot to ask a question, and she seems.
No, she's hiding.
Okay, she's hiding.
Whatever.
It is Yuko, aka Ido of Fallen fame, among other things, and now that she's on the spot, she has to ask a question. I'm filling dead air here again.
I don't know. What are you guys actually talking about?
We're talking
Podcasting.
about our podcast called Geeknights.
What is Geeknights?
We've already covered all that. You don't need to shell for it.
I don't know. Tell me about your most controversial Geeknights.
We already talked about that, too.
All right. What did Conrad come and say?
Conrad asked me about my hair.
Why didn't he come and say dicks? Because that's what he always says.
Baba Booey, Howard Stern's penis, Baba Booey. What? Family Guy? Okay.
Are you sure it
All
wasn't
right.
nothing?
Pod fading. For some reason, everyone in this, it's like webcomic artists come up with like names for all their like things, and this is the same kind of thing. Most podcasts don't make it to 10 episodes.
Yeah,
Most
a lot
people
of
get really into it. They start a podcast, they suck, they stop, and the podcast disappears.
A lot of people get into podcasting. They think, oh, this will be so easy. I'll plug a mic into my laptop and I'll record a show. But then they don't really have anything to talk about, or they only do it when they feel like it and they don't do it regularly.
Or they're
not-
one fanboy talking about his favorite hentai every day.
Yeah. And those podcasts don't stick around for more than like 2 episodes, and then they die. But all the episodes are still there in iTunes.
Yeah.
And it's called pod fading because you'll go around and you'll find this
Well, no,
great
it's not called
podcast.
pod fading. People call it pod fading.
Yeah,
it's
that's
called
right.
Sucking.
Yeah, but you'll go around, you'll find some great podcast, and then after like 7 episodes, they'll be like, no more. And you'll never see another one. You'll be like, God damn it. It's like if a TV show just ends and it wasn't canceled or anything, it's just gone.
Yeah, what was that good video game one you were listening to that disappeared?
It was Gamers with Jobs Radio. They did 25 episodes, and then the guy went to work for The Escapist, so they had to stop it.
Yeah, that's really too bad. I wonder if they should start something up again.
Yeah, maybe, because there really aren't any good video game podcasts because they all suck except for that one.
All right, we got another guy here with a question.
Hey, Raymond Scott. Do you like
Hey.
how I covered just coming up here and not having to like fill dead air?
That's fine.
Yeah,
you were
that
on our
was-
show
that was-
before. You don't need to be introduced.
Yes. I'm Art Boy. I've been on the show before once to talk about
Food.
things.
Yes.
That was awesome.
We'll have you on sometime talking about art-related things.
I have an actual question for you.
All right.
You're here at the lovely Tora-Con at the
Yes, we are in
vast
fact.
RIT campus.
Yes.
What are you guys going to be doing about the con that you are going to maybe talk about either in another podcast or add on to this one later?
Well, honestly, we did a whole series on anime conventions and gaming conventions, and one, how to not suck at going to them, because a lot of our friends, it's a good running theme, how to not suck at things with us. A lot of people we've known have gone to cons and screwed something up, like the hotel was broken, or their friends are all idiots, so they got into a fight, or just craziness. Yeah,
And a lot of people go to cons and then they don't know how to get the maximum enjoyment out of the con. So we did a thing on that too.
Yeah, but ourselves, we really only go to cons to do stuff like this. I mean, I speak on panels at like every con I go to, and once again, I'm here speaking on a panel. And we hang out with our friends and play DS games.
Yeah, the DS is like revitalized the whole convention scene because now every convention is
Uh-oh,
just
now we
a
have an
DS
actual
LAN party.
question. Yeah, pick up the mic. It's
Uh-oh.
Ido again.
Hey, how's it going? I'm actually very curious. Before you started this, because this Geeknights thing is very, very recent. What panels were you guys on? Or just you?
All right. The long story short is that at OhioCon 2, a bunch of us went, and we went into the Anime Club Summit panel, and no one was there to run it. So being the kinds of people that we are, we sat down in the front, pretended it was ours, and ran it. And then we went to Otakon that year, and the same thing happened. So we sat down and ran it. Only this time the staffer said, hey, you guys know what you're talking about. Run the panel forever.
And you
we've
ran
been
that panel for like 3 years, 4 years.
4 years, and I'm still running it this year, me and my friend Scott Johnson.
And now we had another panel.
Yeah, Anime Central, the same thing happened. Katsucon, I don't speak at it, but one of my friends does, and I usually kind of slip my way in. Katsucon, we're going to do stuff at, like I said before. Tora-Con, obviously, we come back every year since we're alums.
Yeah, that's always a big advantage.
Yeah, so basically we wormed our way in, and we just stayed. All right, back to DS's?
The DS is like the king of the convention scene.
Yeah.
Anytime there's a grouping of geeks, the DS is like, oh, woo.
All right,
Light 'em
everyone's
up.
whipping out their DS's.
Da-da-da-da. All right, we're all good.
All right, we've got another question. This is Brian of Instant Classic fame.
Yes. Hi. Is there life beyond podcasting? Is there anything to strive from now that you're on this level?
Well, actually, there are a lot of directions to go because we're growing at a rate that's kind of scary, for one, since we didn't start that long ago and we haven't advertised.
Yeah, we haven't
But
advertised at all. We'll talk about advertising.
Some
your
people have
podcast.
tried to make money straight up, as in, I'm going to sell my podcast. Those people have all failed.
Well, some of them had a little bit of success, but generally, like, one guy, he's like some famous British dude, like Ricky Gervais or something like that. I don't know. But he had a podcast that was, maybe. His podcast was wicked popular and funny. I never listened to it, but that's not the point. He decided that since it was so wicked popular, starting with, like, the 5th or the 10th episode, he was going to sell every episode for, like, $5.
That was pretty
And-
much the end.
Yeah, well, his popularity dropped way down, but he made money because, okay, now I have 100 listeners instead of 1,000, but 100 times $5 is money, Other people sell ads, and those people sometimes make money, sometimes not. Some of them are trying to cover the costs. Some of them are trying to profit.
Yep.
It just varies.
There have been stories, I haven't heard any specifically, like I know the guy, where people were picked up by local radio stations or not really big radio stations yet because they needed voice talent. They found someone who was good and just, hey, come work for us. We'll pay you to do what you were doing for free. Woot.
In his defense, though, he is the creator of The Office.
I don't know what that is. So
Scott doesn't watch TV. The Office is
No.
awesome, in my opinion.
Well, that's why I'm just in Ricky Jarvis's.
okay,
Yeah.
thanks for the information.
Yeah, we have nothing against him, just against his idea of podcasting.
Yeah.
Because our philosophy is that we're doing this for fun and we can afford to cover all the equipment. So we refuse to advertise on our site. We refuse to make money. If we make T-shirts, we'll just sell them at cost.
Mhm.
The question was, how many listeners do we have?
Well, it's hard to measure.
We have a few hundred currently, which isn't too bad considering we just started and considering we've never advertised ever.
Yeah, but there are different ways to measure listeners. Like, we can tell you how many people downloaded a specific episode, but there's 4 days a week. Some people only listen Monday. Some people only listen Tuesday. Some people listen, like, Monday, Thursday, but not Tuesday, Wednesday. Some people
Yep.
listen to every day.
So
So
I
the
can say
number
for
of
certain-
listeners is kind of hard
Based
to
on
tell.
our feed, we average like 1.6 new listeners per calendar day.
Even days where there aren't new episodes.
We've almost never lost listeners, other than that one kid we banned from our forum.
I think he said that he was
he's still listening.
I think he said he's still listening. But
so, Mr. Flaming Geek, I guess
the guy who wasn't really in Japan and can't speak English.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but there's also the issue of people might subscribe to your feed. So I know that someone is subscribed to like the Monday feed, but they might not download every single Monday episode. So it's like he's a listener, he's not a listener, or some people download and never listen to it. They just let their iPods fill up and don't play them ever, and then eventually they go, "What the hell is this?" and delete it all.
So basically, I'd say after about 6 more months to a year, we'll have enough statistics to actually do math and figure out exactly. But I'd say at least a few hundred.
Yeah, and considering we haven't done any pushing whatsoever, like we barely push it. I think we just put it in our signatures and /.
Yeah, this is our first public appearance, and I think Otakon is going to be our kind of big tipping point. Since we're doing a podcast at Otakon Live, we might be getting all sorts of space at Otakon to do other fun things.
Yep.
We're really not sure what the deal is yet, but I think being in the program book at Otakon is going to explode us.
Yeah.
If not, well, pretend I never said that. All right, we have a question from Kate here.
I just wanted you to break down the costs for overhead and for running your podcast.
Okay, all right. So the first cost you have is a microphone. Now, if you don't care about being high quality, a microphone is $10.
Yeah, I mean, we went way overboard. Most podcasts are a dude with the crappy microphone that he found in the box his computer came in, plugged into his computer, he's recording in Windows Recorder, and then encoding in I don't know, Nero.
Yeah, the Logitech headsets are pretty popular. The little come out. It's got a little microphone and a little what's it called? Boom little stick. Yeah, they're usually like the gaming headsets you use if you want to play Counter-Strike online, but those things are $20. And some people, when they want to add more people to their podcast, just buy more headsets. You know,
you need some sort of hosting, and usually you want some sort of blog or blog software to go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know webcomics usually want some sort of automated system of I upload a comic and everything gets taken care of. So you need the same sort of thing, and there are a lot of cheap services that'll offer that. Though you can do it yourself fairly easily.
Yeah. It all depends on your bandwidth. Because, if your host gives you 100 gigabytes a month, right? If you only have so many listeners and your podcasts are only so many megabytes, maybe you can, do it there and not have to pay any more fees. But what eventually happens to most podcasts is since an MP3 is pretty big and you're not BitTorrenting it, which some people do actually BitTorrent their podcast to save bandwidth, but most people just let you directly download the MP3, which means lots and lots of bandwidth costs.
Now, I won't go into all the hosting details because we run our own Linux server up in the sky, and then we host our feeds with FeedBurner. We host our MP3s with Libsyn, which I'm going to recommend them to people who don't have any other option, but I don't really recommend them because I don't like them terribly.
Yeah, Libsyn isn't the greatest company, but really, for $10, they'll let you do 200-something megabytes worth of podcasts per month.
Yep,
and
unlimited
as many
bandwidth.
if you get 1 million downloads, you're still good.
And they'll give you a blog that they'll run. It's kind of like WordPress, and they'll take care of your RSS feeds and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, the RSS feeds are a little tricky, but
yeah, we pay total about $80 a month for all of our hosting combined, but that includes other websites we run.
Yeah, we do other stuff with the hosting. So one hosting's $40. The the Libsyn is $20. Let's see, the mixer.
Yeah,
cost...
now you only need a mixer. See, we have 2 people on the podcast, which is rare. Most people are either one person or a bunch of people talking over Skype. I can't help you if you do the Skype thing because Skype is complicated in the fact that it's closed source and you can't fiddle with it.
Yeah. The Gizmo's a little easier because you just open up Gizmo, call someone, and push the record button. With Skype, you either need 2 computers wired together or a crazy wiring configuration, or there's a freeware Windows program that lets you record Skype conversations.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of it because I don't use it.
We've spent a little under $200 on equipment, but once again, we went way over the top. I mean, Geeknights is one of the highest quality in terms of audio podcasts out there.
Yeah, that's just because we put so much effort into it.
Well, you can get that mixer was $60. It'll handle a whole bunch of inputs. We've got a compressor there, which is our newest bit of technology, which I'm not going to go explain it unless someone wants me to, but basically it reduces the range between the loudest sound and the quietest sound. So if I get quiet while I'm talking and then I get loud again, it kind of evens it all out. And more importantly, it squishes the audio down so we can record on that crappy laptop right there. With its crappy sound card.
You do need a computer. The computer doesn't have to be that good, but the shittier the computer, you're going to run into trouble. Processing it's going to take forever. Editing will take forever. And you need a lot of hard drive space to store all the podcasts because don't trust your host to back them up.
Yeah.
Don't trust them. They might delete all your podcasts and then you're screwed.
Plus,
keep
you
them
want
on a
to
hard
keep
drive.
lossless, like original. I mean, you'll make an MP3 and upload it, but you want to keep the original WAV file or whatever, because in the future you're going to want to be able to make a high quality master for whatever reason. You know, maybe you want to put out a DVD of your whole podcast someday, or you get picked up by a radio station, or you just want to re-edit them now that you know how to actually edit.
Or you want to release your outtakes.
Yes, we have outtakes.
We have outtakes.
Now, the software is free.
The software is free unless you want to get fancy. The first fancy software that's kind of free is GarageBand, which isn't really free, but if you buy a Mac, you get it for free.
GarageBand's great. If you have that, you're all set. You can just podcast now.
Yeah, GarageBand has like amazing podcast tools for idiots. Like a doofus could just click on the podcast button in GarageBand, start talking, and click the finish button, and it takes care of everything
I've
for you.
I've considered buying a MacBook just for it.
Yeah. There's another piece of software that's pretty popular called Cast Blaster.
That's the one for Windows, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not free, but it's very, very fancy, and it takes care of everything you need to do for podcasting, even typing in your show notes and everything from start to finish. Like, you push a button and music plays, and you push another button for wacky sound effects and the volumes and everything.
Yep. Now, beyond that, there are things like Pro Tools, which, if you don't know what that is, you don't need it. Even if you know what it is, you probably don't need it for a podcast.
Yeah, Pro Tools is for real radio people and all kinds of fancy production studios.
Most podcasters seem to use something called Audacity, which is...
That's that.
Right there. It's free. It's really easy to use. It works in Windows. It works on Macs. It works in Linux. I can't really speak badly of it, except for the fact that installing it can be a pain if you're using a good Linux distribution, because we're not going to talk about this, but the guy who coded this doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, you can ask us any questions about non-podcasting geekery after the show, because we know.
Yeah. But, I mean, most of you will have no problem, and it works great. If you have Linux, you can use something called Resound, R-E-Z-O-U-N-D.
That's what we use.
I swear by. It's a beautiful, beautiful program. The guy who wrote it isn't the best coder, but he knows a lot about audio, and he wrote all the algorithms himself, and it works really well.
And considering, you don't have too many other Linux options, that's what we went with.
So you could do a decent podcast on, I'd say, $20 a month total, plus maybe $50 worth of equipment.
Yeah, pretty much. And
if you spend what we spent, you'll have a crazy, awesome radio quality podcast.
Mm-hmm. Oh, here comes another question. Watch out.
Hello again.
All right.
Here's a question for you. I noticed that you guys have forums on your
We
website.
do indeed have forums.
You mentioned them many times before. Now, do you think that, first of all, is it necessary to have forums for podcasting? And second, if you do, what are some good tips to managing forums?
Well,
all right.
You want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. If you have a podcast, you generally have a website that goes with it. That way people can find your podcast with Google or something. It's kind of necessary. But, usually your website can, at a minimum, contain your show notes and links to your shows. At a maximum, you can try to build a whole community around your podcast, forums and all kinds of stuff. You don't need to. It's just something that's good to interact with your listeners and all that sort of good stuff.
Also, it helps you gain momentum, because if there's a community there, they'll all stay by you, just like in webcomics, just like everything else. I mean, we know some webcomic artists who stopped updating, and their fans bother them for like the next 5 years. When's it going to update? When's it going to update?
Yeah, the other thing is that, if you only get feedback from your listeners via email, then, it comes in when someone really has the urge to email you. They won't just email you casually. But if you can get someone to join your forums, which is about as much effort as getting them to send you one email, once they've joined and once they've gotten used to going to the site, they'll just give you feedback constantly and start talking about all kinds of stuff.
Yep. Now, you're going to have to watch out for flamers, trolls, and general spam bots, which is really too complex a topic to get into now.
Yeah.
Suffice to say, we've had to ban one person already.
Yeah, but technology will solve you most of those problems.
Yeah, and off the air, we can tell you exactly how to deal with that.
Yep. Anything else?
Any more questions?
What time
Anything
is
at
it?
all? I think we've recorded enough for a show, at least.
Yeah, I think we have 18 minutes left.
Yeah, so anyway, our show, it's Geeknights.
Listen to it.
Geeknights.
FrontRowCrew.com.
Yes, as in the Front Row Crew from the Anime Club. I don't know who here is even old enough to remember what that is.
Yeah.
All right, there are some people. They're all our
Yes.
friends already. So,
FrontRowCrew.com.
Yep. And we're out off the air, and we'll probably take less formal questions starting now.
Now?
Now.
Or maybe later.
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really.
And that was Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcasts, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geek Nights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geek Nights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.